The woman literally said, I was there after the swinging rock bottom, the arrest rock bottom, the Jenna rock bottom. And somehow, people still think this was just an emotional Instagram rant? No, this was a public detachment announcement. And the second Michaela posted that story, Taylor realized something terrifying. The cast member who used to defend her was now documenting a pattern. And once your friends start speaking about you like a liability instead of a person, that's when the entire show changes. Because this isn't really about one fight. This is about what happens when the star of the chaos suddenly becomes too expensive emotionally, publicly, and maybe even professionally to keep protecting. And honestly, the timing of all this is what makes it look way deeper than friend drama. Taylor's future on the show is already uncertain. Hulu's being weirdly vague about whether she's returning, and suddenly, cast members are publicly distancing themselves like they're preparing for impact. That's why this whole thing feels less like a friendship breakup and more like a reality TV survival strategy. See, the competitor videos are treating this like a messy timeline recap. But if you actually listen to Michaela's wording, it sounds incredibly calculated. Not cruel, calculated. She didn't come online screaming or calling Taylor names. She framed herself as someone finally refusing to enable destructive behavior. That's therapy language, reputation protection language. She kept repeating phrases like boundaries, healing, dangerous behavior, and children involved, which immediately positions her as the mature one in the audience's eyes. And then she dropped the rash cream analogy, basically comparing Taylor's repeated chaos to somebody knowingly harming themselves while expecting endless sympathy afterward. That was brutal because it completely reframed Taylor's entire public persona from struggling victim to person refusing accountability. And once fans heard that framing, the internet instantly split into two camps. Because Taylor's supporters heard Michaela's post and thought, wow, so now you care about boundaries after profiting off the mess for years? And honestly, that's the part Taylor seems most angry about. Not just that Michaela criticized her, but that she did it publicly after years of standing beside her privately. Taylor immediately came back swinging with that "waiting for my downfall" comment, and that sentence exposed the entire psychology of this feud. Taylor genuinely seems to believe the cast stopped seeing her as a friend a long time ago and started seeing her as the unstable centerpiece of the show. That's why she said people always wanted updates on her life. To her, concern started feeling performative, like everyone wanted access to the chaos but didn't actually want to help carry it anymore. And whether you agree with Taylor or not, you can absolutely feel the paranoia and betrayal bleeding through every post she makes. But then the fight escalated into something way darker than friendship drama, because Taylor stopped talking only about loyalty and started invoking pregnancy, bruises, miscarriages, jail, emotional abuse, basically saying, "How dare you talk about me like I'm just reckless when you know what I've survived?" And this is where the entire internet lost the plot, because suddenly fans weren't debating behavior anymore. They were debating whose trauma mattered more. And that is always when online discourse becomes radioactive. Taylor's Mother's Day post especially felt like somebody completely spiraling in real time. She wasn't just defending herself anymore. She was trying to reclaim moral sympathy. The "did you see the bruises" line changed everything, because now anyone criticizing her risked looking heartless. But at the same time, Michaela clearly felt Taylor was using trauma to avoid accountability, which is why she kept doubling down on boundaries and destructive cycles. So now both women think they're the emotionally responsible one. Taylor thinks she's being abandoned while vulnerable. Michaela thinks she's refusing to enable self-destruction. And honestly, that's why this feud feels impossible to resolve, because both women are speaking entirely different emotional languages. Then came the part that made the situation genuinely uncomfortable: the TikTok reposts and the coercive control discourse. Because once Taylor reposted that creator accusing Michaela of being unsafe and questioning her marriage and childhood trauma advocacy, the fight crossed a line from messy reality stars arguing into publicly weaponizing each other's deepest wounds. And Michaela's response actually revealed how deeply personal this became for her. She wasn't even mainly defending her marriage at that point. She was defending herself from feeling psychologically dissected by millions of strangers. Her response about being assaulted starting at 6 years old completely changed the tone, because suddenly viewers realized this wasn't just caste drama anymore. This was unresolved trauma being thrown into fandom warfare for engagement.
Asked me a week ago about my opinion on Michaela Matthews, I would have and did say that she's a victim of coercive control. And I've actually said this about several of her castmates as well, several of which have been very receptive of me educating them on coercive control, and they've been very kind to me. This post that Michaela made, I don't think that she is a safe person or actually wants help in her situation. And I know some of you are going to come for me. That's fine. This is my personal opinion. But let me explain just based on her own post. This first sentence right here, if I was knowingly giving myself rashes, I wouldn't be expecting sympathy from anyone online or privately. We already know this because you don't expect sympathy from what I've seen for marrying your perpetrator. You actually want the credit for that. And it's like this energy of Taylor is in a different situation because she didn't get married to hers. You did. On a little sidestep there, I don't understand how somebody could be talking about and advocating against childhood SA while you actively married your perpetrator. I would think that if you want to use your platform and your voice to talk about childhood SA, you would have left that man. But I get that that is very difficult. But this is also kind of going into this next paragraph she wrote, why I think that she doesn't get it and she would rather throw stones from her glass house. This next paragraph where she goes into, if somebody said 100% certainty, if you stop using this cream, it'll go away. I am so confused by this because I don't know if anybody's ever told her that her autoimmune disease may have been caused by her perpetrator. Because I see this all the time. People who are victims of coercive control actually get autoimmune disorders. And this happened to me and several of my clients. So I don't understand using this analogy specifically towards Taylor, who left her coercive controller while Michaela's still with her.
And honestly, the internet made everything worse. Because fans immediately turned this into Team Taylor versus Team Michaela, instead of recognizing that both of these women are clearly drowning in very different ways. One side sees Taylor as a repeatedly failed woman, being abandoned at her lowest. The other sees Michaela as somebody finally refusing to be emotionally held hostage by constant chaos. And social media rewards both narratives, because outrage is literally the fuel source of reality TV fandoms now. But the most revealing moment in this entire mess actually came from Michaela's husband. Because when he said people defend Taylor like she's a cult leader, it exposed what the cast may secretly resent most: Taylor's ability to survive scandals that would destroy almost anybody else publicly. Think about it. Swinging scandal? Survived. Arrest? Survived. Constant backlash? Survived. Every single controversy somehow strengthens audience attachment to her because fans interpret her messiness as honesty. And that probably becomes exhausting for the people around her, because they may feel like no matter what happens, Taylor always remains the emotional center of the show. And that's the real hidden conflict nobody is talking about. Taylor's chaos is simultaneously the thing that built the show and the thing potentially destroying the relationships behind it. Because reality TV always hits a breaking point where cast members stop asking, "Are we friends?" and start asking, "Is this person safe for my real life?" Michaela's statement felt like someone arriving at that breaking point publicly. Meanwhile, Taylor interpreted that same boundary as betrayal. That's why neither side can hear the other anymore. And the craziest part? I don't even think this feud is fully about their actual friendship now. I think it's become a preseason image war. Everybody suddenly sounds hyper-aware of public perception. Michaela's trying to establish herself as morally grounded before the next season narrative forms. Taylor's trying to prove she was abandoned and scapegoated when she needed support most. Even the reposts feel strategic now. Like they're not just talking to each other, they're talking directly to the audience, Hulu, producers, and future storylines all at once. Because in reality TV, the first person to successfully frame the narrative usually wins. And right now, both women are fighting for control of what this entire scandal means before the cameras even start rolling again. And honestly, that's why this whole thing feels so much uglier than normal influencer drama. Nobody's really arguing about one Instagram story anymore. They're arguing about who gets to be seen as the victim, who gets blamed for the toxicity, and who still deserves a place at the center of Mormon wives when all of this is over.